Please watch my first video about the sine wave and sin and how our souls became polarized before you watch this. But when our souls became divided, they used to be unified as a whole. So they used to be male and female married together in perfect balance in the center. When we descended and lost our enlightenment, our souls became polarized. What that means is then we were either more in our masculine or energy or more in our feminine energy, but we were never in perfect balance between the two. We were always one way or the other, and predominantly living that way. So what happens is when you're divided like that internally, what they say in the Bible, it says something about when your kingdom is divided, then like your kingdom can't stand or something. It's when it's divided against itself, and this is literally what it is. When your soul's polarized, it's divided against itself. So when you are predominantly more in your female energy or more in your male energy, what happens is when you're in this sine wave, when you're out of balance, your body is constantly trying to look for the opposite to put you back in balance. So if you are predominantly in your female energy, you will look for a masculine energy. Whether that's a man or woman, you're just going to look for that energy. And if you are predominantly in your masculine energy, you're going to look for a feminine energy, whether that's a man or a woman. So the biggest and most important thing we need to do in this world is unify our soul again and find balance internally again. Then you will attract your soulmate externally, no matter who they are. So when you find that balance within, that's the most important thing, and it will change the world as well. Like, internal balance is what's going to bring external balance. And so I personally think that we should stop focusing our efforts on trying to find the soulmate or trying to find an external partner, or especially trying to get married and have kids and, like, you know, all the kind of social stuff that people condition us to want, rather than like looking down on people who are 40 years old and still haven't been married and had a kid. Like, rather than that, let's aspire to be 40 years old and trying to find ourselves and trying to unify our soul and trying to become whole and holy and do the inner work. I would rather get 100 years old and never have a child and never get married, but have been doing the internal work. So I think that's the most important thing, because once you find balance within, then you can find that and attract that divine person externally, and it'll be the right one, the one that God like intended for you, that the one that like you're always going to be with. And because you fulfill yourself, because you're not looking externally for the stuff you're lacking, you aren't lacking anything internally anymore, because you have completed yourself. Then whenever you look for a partner externally, it's going to be because you choose them because you enjoy them and because you love them unconditionally, not just because they make you feel whole or make you feel like complete because you're actually lacking what they have. Because if you rely on them to make you feel whole and complete and to fill you in the ways you're lacking, then what happens when they leave or when something happens? So this is why we get emotionally attached to people, because we integrate them like they are a part of us, because they make us feel complete energetically when they aren't, and we need to actually fill and complete ourselves. So we rely on them, and then we have a love-hate relationship with them, because we love them because they make us feel whole and complete, but we hate the fact that they could say something or leave and it could really, really hurt us, because you kind of derive your sense of self based on them. So if they leave, or if something bad happens to them, you have such a strong pain because you feel like you've lost a part of yourself, but really that part of yourself was always within you. You just needed to find it and find that balance again. We always have masculine and feminine in us at all times, but it's about being centered and balanced in the unified oneness of the two, rather than being swung one way to masculine or swung one way to feminine. And so this is why I think, you know, when people are saying, oh, I'm like a he, she, I don't have a sex, I think that what it is their soul remembers being androgynous. So their soul remembers being both masculine and feminine perfectly in balance, and so they are trying to do it externally and trying to be that externally, but it's not an external process. It's always an internal one first, and then you can do what you want to do. Balance yourself first and then choose your partner. Balance yourself first, and we will have such a better world.